Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're doing great, I get to watch basketball, so I'm excited about that.
That's true. It's going to be a little bit of a dry spell here until preseason comes around, but we got to enjoy what we have. Although I will say some of Summer League a little difficult to watch at times. Like they're landing on the baseline, turning the ball over. It's a little difficult, but hey, at least it's professional basketball.
Yeah, that last game was a rough watch. Million fouls. Refs called a million fouls. I mean, it was just sort of herky jerky, and you could tell that a lot of these guys were, you know, not quite NBA quality.
Right, absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little summer league. Let's give me one guy who's impressed you a lot so far.
You know, I like Knicks a little bit, but I mean, he doesn't really blow me away because he's kind of been in the system for a bit, so he should be able to run. He should be more controlled and should be able to run the offense. So I mean, I like seeing him play. I like the little French point guard. I can't forget his name. It's like Hines or Hyvee. Yeah. I like that guy. I like how quick he is. I like that he's decisive. He seems like he can get to his spot. Like he likes that elbow jumper. He likes a couple spots. Um, those guys have really impressed me. Dillingham and TJ Shannon have been great or have been fine. About I wouldn't say they've impressed me. They're about what I would expect out of first round draft picks. Maybe a little below in some stats, but yeah, it's about right.
So let's get into it. Rob Dillingham hasn't had the best of go of it so far. In fact, I got his stats right here. 9.3 points per game, which is okay, but when you get into the nitty-gritty, not great. 27% from the field, 25% from three. The good news, 6.7 assists, but the other thing that you got to remember here is in the second game, he had a good start to the game. So he's only shooting about 27%, and a lot of that came in just a one spurt in the first quarter in the second game. Are you worried about Rob Dillingham at all? For a couple reasons. A, do you think he's too small for an NBA? Do you think he's got to gain some weight? And B, do you trust him to kind of run the second unit yet?
Yeah, I mean, those are a lot of big questions. I would say I'm not really worried about his weight as much as, unfortunately, I'm just worried about his sheer size. I mean, he's 6'1", 165 pounds, and he looks every bit of that, if not less. Looks like he has short arms, to be honest. Like, it looks like he might not even have a plus wingspan. Some of those guys that are 6'1", that are light, that he's been compared to, are like 6'1" with a 6'8" wingspan or something like that. And you're like, well, he can make up for it a little bit. Dillingham doesn't seem to have that. So yeah, I am concerned a little bit with his physical stature. He's quick and shifty, which I love. That's what we needed. We talked about that on here, is we need guys that can give us a little different athletic profile. But for his size, I mean, he's going to have to be real quick and shifty if he's going to be super effective in the NBA. And maybe we got to stop thinking like he's going to be super effective. Maybe like quality role player type talent is maybe what he'll be. And that's, not a terrible thing either at the 8th pick.
Right, and that's what we're kind of looking for is role player. I know early on we had aspirations that he was going to be the heir apparent to Mike Conley. Obviously, it's early, and we really won't know anything until he puts on that number 4 and suits up for the Timberwolves in an actual game. But yeah, like you said, his calling card is going to be going to the basket and shooting. He shot 44% from three in college. He was their sixth man off the bench, but not really doing it in this in the summer league so far. Hopefully he can turn it around. But yeah, I do worry. Personally, I worry a little bit just because, like you were saying, he's so small. And I feel like he could get bullied around by the bigger point guards out there. When you go to kind of a positionless league, which is where we're at, you can get bigger guys at point guard. And I feel like he might get bullied a little bit, particularly on the defensive end.
Yeah, and I mean, it might not even be the bigger point guards. Like, he can get bullied by the smaller point guards, to be honest with you. Like, he's probably going to be the smallest, if not the smallest, like point guard in the league, almost like playing like 165 pounds is really little. And he's not like an explosive athlete. Like John Morant is like an over the top explosive athlete. He's not so much that, like with the run and jump type athlete, but we'll see. Like he actually, thrived playing off ball. And I was watching some Wolves guy on Twitter was talking about, like, yeah, he hasn't been great, but he has been, used in a lot of the actions that we actually use as a Timberwolves. And he's been fairly successful in that, where the point guard kind of goes off ball and kind of runs off some ball screens type stuff. He's going to have to step it up in that case too. Like to say I'm concerned, I think would be a reach because it's summer league and, it's scary to take really much of anything out of that. Eye test is kind of the best thing. But I definitely have some concerns, some worries. I don't think that he's like a bust or anything yet. I think it's too early to say that. But my guy Bob Covington looks a little bit better so far. But who knows? This is just summer league.
Yeah, absolutely. And
one thing I'm sorry,
Carrington, yeah.
For the Wizards.
The one thing that I will say is maybe we're getting a different version than what we thought we were getting in the draft. Like you said, in Kentucky, he was more of a scorer kind of guy. Maybe he's more of a pass first kind of point guard. And maybe if he can almost kind of play like that Mike Conley kind of game where he defers more of the time and then just takes his shot when it's his, maybe it's kind of the evolutionary factor where it turns into more of a Mike Conley style play, but he's just got to learn how to do that. Because, I mean, his assist numbers are good. 6.7 assists per game. Got to remember they're only 10-minute quarters. So you give him an extra, 8 minutes on the court. He could get it up to 10, maybe averaging a double-double at some point. Maybe he's just a different player than we thought.
Yeah, and it's also very possible that the Timberwolves are like, hey, man, we know you can score. This is what we want you to focus on. Just strictly focus on running the system, running the team, being the leader of this to really get some reps under your belt. It's possible that that's what's going on. Like so much of this, we don't really know what's happening. Even like Deshaun Nix, who has been looking great. And I really love like his size. I love his intensity. And people got to remember he was a 5-star recruit too, just a couple of years ago. Like he was one of the best guys in the nation coming out of high school. So, but even him, he's not really being uber aggressive offensively either. He's seems to be really, looking pass first, trying to run the team. But yeah, his assist numbers are amazing, especially because talking about Dillingham, especially because he's passing to guys that aren't hitting shots. Like this isn't the varsity squad out there. These are some JV guys, or maybe some some D squad guys out there that aren't exactly going to cash in on every pass that you set them up with.
And just not to cut you off, but on top of that, the guys that he is out there with, even the top guys, like you think Leonard Miller or Josh Minot, the first thing you think when those guys come up aren't necessarily shooting either.
Right. And even, TJ Shannon isn't, I mean, he had a decent year his senior year shooting, but like, if he's not scoring off a broken cord or fast break or something, like he's not Klay Thompson out there, 0 dribbles, putting up 40 points type thing.
And let's rotate to that right now. Terrence Shannon Jr. actually, I think, has been having a pretty nice summer league here. And I'll bring up this point in a second, but I really think we only need one of our first 2 first-round picks to really hit in the first season. Now, maybe later on we need them both to hit, but I think in the first season, if one of them are good, I feel like that's a win for us. Now, so far, Terrence Shannon, really good numbers, 17.7 points per game. The 3-pointers aren't there, 28%, but he is shooting 60% from the field. What have you liked out of Terrence Shannon so far?
I've loved his hustle. I mean, he's a guy that looks like he's going to be, giving it all, his all the time. Like he's, um, playing defense hard, getting over screens. He's, contesting shots at the rim. The one thing we knew he was going to do is get out and run in transition. He does a lot of that. I really like what I've been seeing in those things. There's some concerns that I've been seeing, but for the things I like, I would say hustle. I would say just intensity, and he's kind of got that in that Anthony Edwards mold where when he gets the ball, he's in attack mode, and that's something that we don't have that sort of spirit on our roster in a lot of spots. So like the pure attack mode mentality is something that we need, and I'm glad that he has that.
Yeah, I mean, and he's looked good. Like I said, we only really need one of them to hit in the first year because we needed that guy off the bench who can score. We need that guy off the bench who can initiate. And it looks like Terrence Shannon might be that guy. Now, he was great at Illinois doing that, attacking the basket, basically led them by himself to the Elite Eight. So, I mean, he's doing what everyone thought he could do. I think the only reason that I know I've taken some heat, particularly in the comments for even bringing this up, but you got to bring it up. I think he fell significantly in the draft because of the whole case that he was under. I mean, I'm pretty sure the case
and
wrapped
age.
up. Yeah, and age. The case basically wrapped up like 2 or 3 weeks before the draft. You can't say that doesn't have an effect on your draft stock.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at any of the drafts, you look at the last 10 drafts, let's say, I would say 80% of the first round is going to be freshmen, or freshman age Euros. And then when you get to like sophomores, that might be the rest of it. Juniors and seniors, you might have like 1 or 2 guys in the first round every year. I mean, we're talking, Naismith, like players of the year are getting drafted mid-second. Like it's not, it's kind of rare for a guy 24 or nearly 24 to be drafted. Almost never. So, I mean, there's definitely some signs, there's some worries there. One thing that I've really kind of worried about him is, mind you, 24 is not old, but in the NBA, like you should be pretty polished by then. And when it comes to like half court, he's almost doing nothing in the half court for us. Like he doesn't really move the ball much. I don't see him passing. I don't see him creating much for others. I don't know what his role will be other than on the fast break or like broken floor if there's a steal or something like that. That's where he's really been thriving. But I guess in reality, when we have Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and guys like that out on the court, even Naz Reid, Dillingham, Terrence Shannon's probably not going to be a guy that's going to be chucking up a bunch of shots in the half court. So maybe that's a concern that I don't have to have. But man, his explosiveness is what's really stood out to me. Like his first step explosiveness, looks elite. I mean, mind you, it's versus, summer league players, but like his short burst quickness, him and Dillingham both, it looks like a huge asset. And those are, again, skill sets that the Timberwolves don't have much of. I mean, we've basically got Anthony Edwards and nobody else that has short burst type speed. Everyone else relies on size. So it's good to see that attribute at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy that I have been really impressed with, particularly on the defensive side, and you mentioned him a little earlier, Daishen Nix. I almost think that in spots, I'm not saying all the time, but we did sign him to a 2-way contract. I think that in spots, if you need to kind of harass a guard, almost a more beefier guard. I think you could put him in, and particularly if there's injuries, put him in and kind of have him to harass that guard. I mean, he's averaging now, granted, in 3 games, but he's averaging 2.3 steals per game, which is pretty impressive. So I've been really impressed by him and his defense so far.
For sure, and his body is hard to deal with. Like, he's quicker than you'd think at such a big boy. Like, I don't know what he's weighing in at, but I mean, he's a big man out there at point guard. And even who was the guy we drafted last year at UCLA that had the ACL injury?
Jalen Clark.
So Jalen Clark, same kind of guy. Like, those guys are working hard on defense. I know he had 6 steals in his second game or something like that. And Dillingham was quoted there talking about his defense. And I saw Dillingham working hard in this last game on D to get through things and really stick to guys. And he said, with everyone else playing as hard on defense, it kind of makes you have to do it too. So what we're doing on defense on that summer league team is nice. And I think, like you said, if you're going to have role players that are deep bench guys, it's not bad to have them come in and just play defense. Like, because in reality, you're not coming in as the 9th, 10th guy, 12th guy off the bench to be a instant scorer very often. So,
or at least we hope not. Yeah.
Right. So Daishawn Nix has looked like he's competent enough to run the offense. It looks like he knows what he's doing. He can get in and out of the plays easily. And with his pure size, he causes a handful for people.
And you mentioned that you're not expecting the 12th guy off the bench to score. There were some times in the playoffs, kind of desperately, that we put in Jordan McLaughlin sometimes, expecting him to shoot and initiate some offense. I think that was more desperation more than anything there. Right. But yeah, I do think there's some guys that could have some spot minutes here and there. And I think that the team's got to know who is running this team. If you're going to play for Coach Chris Finch, you are going to need to play defense. And I think they know that. And they know that Coach Finch is watching and the whole organization is watching. And if you want to stand out, how are you going to do it? It's not going to be an impressive dunk against a borderline pro player. It's going to be a defensive stand or sticking on a guy like glue or a trap in the corner. That's multiple the way. Efforts. Yeah, effort. That's exactly what's going to get you minutes on the Wolves. And it may not be a lot of minutes. Like I said, it's an uphill battle for a lot of these guys. But I think with Coach Finch and the way this team is constructed, if you can show that you can play at least defense, I think the other things will come.
For sure. And I mean, we do have some spots that are kind of open. I mean, we don't have a backup point guard. And I mean, Dillingham, you'd think is going to take that, but we still need a third point guard. Yep. And that's probably going to be Nix. We don't really have much behind Jaden at small forward at all. I mean, we've got who do we just pick up? The Australian, Joe Ingles. And I mean, he's not the springest, he's not the youngest guy. So, I mean, there's some injury there that could happen. So, I mean, small forward is a spot where we might need a guy. Not exactly what, Clark's role is. He's more of a 2-guard, but if you can defend, you can have a spot. Minot, I would say I'll speak on him real quick. Talking summer league, he's been rebounding well. I've really been impressed with him, Josh Minot, on his perimeter defense. Like sliding with little guys and really putting in a lot of effort out there. Still a little sketchy on offense. I don't know how he'd fit in. But again, these guys are probably not going to be NBA All-Stars or even starter level players. So if you can get, 3 or 4 quality stops before he subs out, that's a win, So I think we're trying to build our team in a smart way on this second unit or on this deep bench unit with guys, like you said, that'll give you, multiple efforts, play hard defense, don't make mistakes, and then get off the court and let Anthony Edwards go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to mention this just because I found it on Twitter. It's completely off topic. But for you Luka Garza fans, Chris, have you heard of the Twin Cities Pro-Am thing that goes on at Minnehaha Academy?
I know a little bit about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Luka Garza is going to be playing there tonight at 7:00, free at Minnehaha Academy. If anyone on YouTube is looking for something to do tonight, you might want to go check that out. I mean, they get some pretty good players there.
Yeah.
I know like Tyus Jones has been there. Jalen Suggs obviously has been there as well. So you get some good talent down there. I just wanted to mention that real quick.
He's
But
probably
yeah,
going to lay a 50 burger down on some guys.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because he's going to get the ball a lot. We know that Luka Garza can score when given the ball. Like
on anybody.
That's his go-to. That's his bread and butter. So he's going to be able to get that done. So like I said, if you're looking for something to do tonight and you're watching on YouTube or listening to it on Spotify, Twin Cities Pro-Am at Minnehaha Academy, you might want to check it out.
Yeah, you might want to leave now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just picked up on that. So anyway, let's get into the title of the video. Let's do these three. Rob Dillingham. No, this is just two. Give a grade for Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. Give them individual grades so far.
Based off expectation, I would say Dillingham's about a C.
Okay.
You know, I'm just going by visuals. I like how fast he looks. He does look like he's got a lot of side to side. He does look like he knows how to manipulate the defense. He knows how to, you know, get a defender on his back when he's, you know, kind of probing. You know, I kind of like that. I like that he's moving the ball more. He's looking like a point guard. But, you know, this is summer league, man. You should be, if you're known as a scorer, you should easily be putting up 20 a game. Like, there's a lot of bums out there putting up 20 a game in the summer league. So, you know, that knocked him down a bit. And I would say Shannon Jr., I would say a B. And that's, you know, I didn't have very high expectations for him, to be honest with you. And so since my expectations were low, he's impressed me with his short burst athleticism, with his quickness. He seems to only really be getting much of his buckets in broken court, like I was saying, in fast break and stuff like that, but he's still getting them. And he's a little bit out of control, you know, but he's getting to the line, being aggressive, getting the free throw line. So if you can get to the free throw line, if you can aggressively attack the rim and you can give a lot of effort, you know, you've got a spot as a hustle kind of role player. So I would say a B for him.
And another question that I have from you, can you name the two former Summer League MVPs from the Timberwolves? Las Vegas Summer League MVP from the Timberwolves. Can you name the two?
Well, I know one of them is Randy Foy, I think. And I would say the second one, Kevin Love?
No. Well, here's a hint. I have mentioned him on this podcast already. 2016.
I have no idea. Who is it?
He's from. Wait, hold on. One more hint. He's from here.
He's from a Timberwolf guy. He's from here. I don't know. I should know that.
Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones.
I almost forget of him. I almost forget him as a Timberwolf now. That seems weird.
Right. Yeah. It was
Speaking of, we might take him back. I mean,
I would love to.
I mean, he doesn't have a job, and there's a handful of quality free agents out there, and all these, like I mentioned before, I think that this new CBA is going to create some of these, you know, veterans that are mid-range veterans that were making $8 to $12 million a year type range are going to start having to accept veteran minimums, and it's starting to happen. So we might get a guy like Tyus or Luke Kennard or who knows, Hayward at vet minimum to fill out our roster.
I would love it. Yeah. 2016, Timberwolves went to the Summer League final. Also, nice. 2019, they went to the Summer League final as yet, but they have yet to actually win a summer league game or a summer league championship. So, hey, maybe it's this year.
Did that loss? Do we still make the playoffs and stuff, right? Does everyone make the playoffs?
I believe so. Yeah, we'll make the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, that's all you got to do is be in it. Be in it to win it.
For years, that was our only calling card, like summer leagues runner-ups. Yeah. And then we'd go like 15-62 or whatever.
We'll take what we can get.
Well, look at where we are now.
That's right.
Absolutely. And this is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
No problem. Enjoy this cooler weather that we're having.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. And as always, go Wolves.